Hi everybody, Steve Griffiths here, developer of the MTPredictor software program. In today's video, I'd like to show you some of the advanced techniques that our more experienced MTPredictor users employ with their MTPredictor software to show you how to get much more advanced trade setups. A good example of this unfolded yesterday on the NQ. You can see on our automatic setups it seemed to be not a very good day to start with. We had one TS3 sell here on a black STF, which means the trend was flat. Therefore this was okay to take for standard traders. You can see that this would have come in for a short trade here and then been stopped out. She'd have had one losing trade, so on the outset it may not seem very good. However, for the more experienced MTPredictor users, what we do is we go to the higher time frame to look at the larger degree support and resistance areas. So for this we go to the 15-minute chart. Hang on, just add on some extra data on there. Just bear with me for a second. Put 15 days in. There we go, we've got 15 days worth of data. Right, I want to show you how this works because these are leading tools, and it just shows you how good this can be. So let's just place some some white space to the right hand side and go back before yesterday even opened. Where's yesterday's open? There we go. I think we're about there. So what happened yesterday? Sorry, I need to move a little bit further forward. Where did yesterday open? Just bear with me for a second. Yesterday opened, or before yesterday's open, we were about here. So let's see what we can do with this. Well, for our advanced tools, on the higher time frame, we look to the prior swings. So here you can see clearly there was a swing high here, and what we do is we hover over that bar, we right mouse click, and we place our decision point tool on the chart. This gives you an area of potential support and resistance, but the key is this is on the chart in advance. In other words, this would have been on the chart before the market even opened yesterday. This is important to understand. So it's a leading indicator. So let's see what happened. Well, as you can see on the 15-minute chart, this market or the NQ went up and basically then declined sharply for pretty much the rest of the day. Well, a very sharp decline there. But the point being is that that level, which was on the chart in advance, caught the high of the day. So let's now go down to the 3-minute chart and see what that would have looked like. Here we are as the day's opening. There's our level on the chart in advance. We come down, the market then starts to rally back up. We then get our TS3 sell setup. Now initially you can see that this TS3 sell setup is not at or hasn't reached this 15-minute DP resistance area. So in other words, the trend, the large degree trend, is still up into this larger degree resistance area. So initially the more experienced users may have looked at this and said this is against a larger degree uptrend and therefore avoided it. But the setup that I want to look at in more detail is when the market comes up into this area here. Let's have a look at this bar here. Now this is where we can use some of our other MTPredictor tools. One of them is our Elliott wave tool. So let's hover over this bar. Let's come down and do Elliott wave intermediate, which is the intermediate degree Elliott wave count. It's the one that I tend to use the most. And as you can see, the software has found a clear and nice and clean 5-wave sequence going up into this high. Starts at a good pivot, goes up. It actually finishes and reverses with a red sell bar right at the typical wave 5 WPT. As the name suggests, this is typically the area where a 5-wave sequence would end. So can you suddenly see how we have the end of a 5-wave sequence, or potentially the end of a 5-wave sequence, but more importantly it's unfolding at the higher time frame resistance area, in other words the 15-minute resistance. I did a talk at our Society of Technical Analysts here in the UK last week on this very setup and explained to them that using a Elliott wave sequence in isolation, when it unfolds and looks like it's reversing at higher time frame support and resistance, is a very good way to use Elliott wave tools, and a very simple way. So this is a potential sell setup here. Our initial target is the DP from the prior wave 4, which is down here. We can then use our risk reward tools to gauge how good or how good a potential trade is in and around that setup. And this is the cool thing about some of the MTPredictor tools, in that you're not just taking a trade anywhere, you're taking a trade with a small controlled risk. You can see here it would be shorting 7 contracts, and our initial target would have been down here at a potential profit of 4 to 1. In other words, you can gauge even at the initial target how good this trade is. So 4R profit is a good trade because it's potentially 4 times the initial risk. If this level is exceeded, then you tend to go to the DP from the start of the prior sequence. So in other words, down to this level here, you go right back to the start of the sequence and you place your second DP down here. And in fact, actually this is a 15-minute DP as well, so it's a larger degree of zone. I'll just go up here and have a look at this. So here was our high coming in. We go back to the prior pivot, which is down here. We then place our decision point on from the prior pivot. Remember, this would have been in advance, so literally we could have done this as soon as that high came in. I'll just do that again just so you can see it. So as soon as that high came in, you go back to this prior pivot, you then place the DP on, and there it is in advance. Let's go back to the 3-minute chart. So there's our position. There's our position in that we have a potential trade down here with a larger degree support zone down here. Let's see what happened. Well, the market went down very sharply, hit the first target there, but then it started to carry on to decline further down. We know that if it breaches this DP, it will tend to go to the DP from the prior low down here, which, as we've already seen, is also the 15-minute DP as well. So what you would have done then is readjust your profit target to come down at this level here, and as you can see, this suddenly would have increased the potential profit to almost 9R, or 9 times the initial risk. Let's see what happened. The market went forward, came down, and then hit our target. At this point, you could either say, yes, a 9R profit is a very good trade indeed, because I know we're at our 15-minute support zone, therefore the market is likely to rally, and you could then just bank 9R profit. Or you could say, I'm actually going to use the trade module, and I'm then going to swap to the 1 bar high. In other words, you would stop to trading at just 1 bar above the bar's highs, and you'd have probably been stopped out just there for a nice 9.8R. That's almost a 10R return. Or you could have come down to look at the STF and said that's actually strong and want to trail with the STF, or the ATR strength band, which means you'd have held it a little bit further down and been stopped out for 10R profit at that particular zone. But either way, if we go back to the end of the day, you can see that that was a very, very good place to look to come out of your profit. And if we look back at this trade here, I'll just turn the trade module off, you can see that this would have allowed you to take a short trade from the very high of the day. And it actually follows up on a video I did a week or so ago where we had a great trade on the ES, and I asked the question, is it possible to buy or sell the high of the day? And I think this is another example of how it is definitely possible to do this when all the pieces come together and you have the correct tools, and in particular when we have our higher time frame support and resistance areas. This is the cool thing about MTPredictor, is that we have these advanced tools for the experienced users that are capable of catching turns like this. And as you can see, having this 15-minute resistance area on the chart even before the market even opened basically nailed the area where the high of the day unfolded yesterday. Then a very simple thing of actually applying the Elliott wave tool, noticing that was a 5-wave sequence right at the typical wave 5 WPT, allowed you to take a short trade off what was the very bar of the high of the day. So what a great place to take a trade. And the result, as you can see, is approximately a 9 or 10R profit. So this is what I wanted to show you in today's video. When you become more experienced, these are the kind of trades that you can uncover with the MTPredictor software program. And as you can see, they can be very, very good trades indeed.